What follows is a letter from Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò in which he gives first-hand evidence of sexual corruption and cover-up in the highest levels of the Catholic Church. Archbishop Carlo Maria Viganò served as the United States Ambassador of the Holy See to the Vatican, from 2011 to 2016. He previously served as Secretary General of the Governorate of Vatican City State from the 16th of July 2009 to the 3rd of September 2011. He is best known for having exposed two major Vatican scandals. These were the Vatican Leaks scandal of 2012, in which he revealed financial corruption in the Vatican, and a 2018 letter in which he accused Pope Francis and other church leaders of covering up sexual abuse allegations against former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who was laicized. Archbishop Vigano was fundamentally involved for this action. Vigano was ordained a priest in 1968 and spent most of his career working in a diplomatic capacity for the Holy See. As a priest, he served on a number of diplomatic missions before being consecrated a bishop by Pope John Paul II in 1992. Vigano was appointed Secretary General of the Vatican City Governorate in 2009, where he reformed the finances of Vatican City and turned a budget deficit into a surplus. He complained directly to Pope Benedict XVI about financial corruption. The unauthorized publication of two of his letters led to the Vatican Leaks scandal, exposing financial mismanagement and wrongdoing in the Vatican. He was then transferred to the position of Apostolic Nuncio to the United States in 2011 over his objections. While in the United States, Vigano earned a reputation as a conservative, arranging a controversial meeting between Pope Francis and former county clerk Kim Davis, known for her opposition to same-sex marriage, during the Pope's 2015 visit to the United States. A priest accused him of suppressing allegations of sexual misconduct against Archbishop John Clayton instead, but he denied doing so. On August 25, 2018, Vigano published an 11-page letter accusing Pope Francis and numerous other senior church leaders of concealing allegations of sexual misconduct against former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. Vigano stated that Pope Benedict XVI imposed sanctions on McCarrick in response to accusations that were made against him, but that Pope Francis refused to enforce them and that he made McCarrick an important advisor. Vigano called on Francis to resign. The letter provoked diverse reactions within the Church, with some expressing support for the allegations and calling for further investigation, and others defending Francis, questioning the statements made in the letter, and attacking Vigano's credibility. After the publication of the letter, Vigano continued to issue public statements. Open letter from the Prefect of the Congregation for Bishops, Cardinal Marco Willett, on the recent accusations against the Holy See on the Feast of the North American Martyrs 2018. To bear witness to corruption in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church was a painful decision for me, and remains so. But I am an old man, one who knows he must soon give an accounting to the judge for his actions and omissions, one who fears him who can cast body and soul into hell, a judge who, even in his infinite mercy, will render to every person salvation or damnation according to what he has deserved. Anticipating the dreadful question from that judge, how could you, who had knowledge of the truth, keep silent in the midst of falsehood and depravity? What answer could I give? I testified fully aware that my testimony would bring alarm and dismay to many eminent persons, churchmen, fellow bishops, colleagues with whom I had worked and prayed. I knew many would feel wounded and betrayed. I expected that some would in their turn assail me and my motives. Most painful of all, I knew that many of the innocent faithful would be confused and disconcerted by the spectacle of the bishops charging colleagues and superiors with malfeasance, sexual sin, and grave neglect of duty. Yet I believed that my continued silence would put many souls at risk, and would certainly damn my own. Having reported multiple times to my superiors, and even to the Pope, the aberrant behavior of Theodore McCarrick, I could have publicly denounced the truths of which I was aware earlier. If I have some responsibility in this delay, I repent for that. This delay was due to the gravity of the decision I was going to take, and to the long travail of my conscience. I have been accused of creating confusion and division in the Church through my testimony. To those who believe such confusion and division were negligible prior to August 2018, perhaps such a claim is plausible. Most impartial observers, however, will have been aware of a long-standing excess of both. This is inevitable when the successor of Peter is negligent in exercising his principal mission, which is to confirm the brothers in the faith and in sound moral doctrine. When he then exacerbates the crisis by contradictory or perplexing statements about these doctrines, the confusion is worsened. Therefore I spoke. For it is the conspiracy of silence that has wrought and continues to wreak great harm in the Church, harm to so many innocent souls, to young priestly vocations, to the faithful at large. With regard to my decision, which I have taken in conscience before God, I willingly accept every fraternal correction, advice, recommendation, and invitation to progress in my life of faith and love for Christ, the Church and the Pope. Let me restate the key points of my testimony. In November 2000 the U.S. Nuncio Archbishop Montalvo informed the Holy See of Cardinal McCarrick's homosexual behavior with seminarians and priests. In December 2006 the new U.S. Nuncio, Archbishop Pietro Sambi, informed the Holy See of Cardinal McCarrick's homosexual behavior with yet another priest. In December of 2006 I myself wrote a memo to the Secretary of State Cardinal Bertone, and personally delivered it to the Substitute for General Affairs, Archbishop Leonardo Sandri, calling for the Pope to bring extraordinary disciplinary measures against McCarrick to forestall future crimes and scandal. This memo received no response. In April 2008 an open letter to Pope Benedict by Richard Sipe was relayed by the Prefect of the CEDF, Cardinal Levada, to the Secretary of State, Cardinal Bertone, containing further accusations of McCarrick's sleeping with seminarians and priests. I received this a month later, and in May 2008 I myself delivered a second memo to the then Substitute for General Affairs, Archbishop Fernando Filoni, reporting the claims against McCarrick and calling for sanctions against him. This second memo also received no response. In 2009 or 2010 I learned from Cardinal Re, Prefect of the Congregation of Bishops, that Pope Benedict had ordered McCarrick to cease public ministry and begin a life of prayer and penance. The Nuncio Sambi communicated the Pope's orders to McCarrick in a voice heard down the corridor of the nunciature. In November 2011 Cardinal Willett, the new Prefect of Bishops, repeated to me, the new Nuncio to the U.S., the Pope's restrictions on McCarrick, and I myself communicated them to McCarrick face to face. On June 21, 2013, toward the end of an official assembly of nuncios at the Vatican, Pope Francis spoke cryptic words to me criticizing the U.S. episcopacy. On June 23, 2013, I met Pope Francis face to face in his apartment to ask for clarification, and the Pope asked me, Il Cardinal McCarrick, Cardinal McCarrick, what do you make of him? Which I can only interpret as a feigning of curiosity in order to discover whether or not I was an ally of McCarrick. I told him that McCarrick had sexually corrupted generations of priests and seminarians, and had been ordered by Pope Benedict to confine himself to a life of prayer and penance. Instead, McCarrick continued to enjoy the special regard of Pope Francis and was given new responsibilities and missions by him. McCarrick was part of a network of bishops promoting homosexuality who, exploiting their favor with Pope Francis, manipulated episcopal appointments so as to protect themselves from justice and to strengthen the homosexual network in the hierarchy and in the Church at large. Pope Francis himself has either colluded in this corruption, or, knowing what he does, is gravely negligent in failing to oppose it and uproot it. I invoked God as my witness to the truth of my claims. and none has been shown false. Cardinal has written to rebuke me for my temerity in breaking silence and leveling such grave accusations against my brothers and superiors, but in truth his remonstrance confirms me in my decision and, even more, serves to vindicate my claims, severally and as a whole. Cardinal concedes that he spoke with me about McCarrick's situation prior to my leaving for Washington to begin my post as nuncio. Cardinal concedes that he communicated to me in writing the conditions and restrictions imposed on McCarrick by Pope Benedict. Cardinal concedes that these restrictions forbade McCarrick to travel or to make public appearances. Cardinal concedes that the Congregation of Bishops, in writing, first through the Nuncio Sambi and then once again through me, required McCarrick to lead a life of prayer and penance. What does Cardinal dispute? Cardinal disputes the possibility that Pope Francis could have taken in important information about McCarrick on a day when he met scores of nuncios and gave each only a few moments of conversation. But this was not my testimony. My testimony is that at a second, private meeting, I informed the Pope, answering his own question about Theodore McCarrick, then Cardinal Archbishop Emeritus of Washington, prominent figure of the Church in the U.S., telling the Pope that McCarrick had sexually corrupted his own seminarians and priests. No Pope could forget that. Cardinal disputes the existence in his archives of letters signed by Pope Benedict or Pope Francis regarding sanctions on McCarrick. But this was not my testimony. My testimony was that he is in his archives key documents, irrespective of provenance, incriminating McCarrick and documenting the measures taken in his regard, and other proofs on the cover-up regarding his situation. And I confirm this again. Cardinal disputes the existence in the files of his predecessor, Cardinal Re, of audience memos imposing on McCarrick the restrictions already mentioned. But this was not my testimony. My testimony is that there are other documents, for instance, a note from Cardinal Exaudientia SS.me, signed by either the Secretary of State or by the substitute. Cardinal disputes that it is false to present the measures taken against McCarrick as sanctions decreed by Pope Benedict and counselled by Pope Francis. True. They were not technically sanctions, but provisions, conditions and restrictions. To quibble whether they were sanctions or provisions or something else is pure legalism. From a pastoral point of view they are exactly the same thing. In brief, Cardinal concedes the important claims that I didn't make, and disputes claims I don't make and never made. There is one point on which I must absolutely refute what Cardinal wrote. The Cardinal states that the Holy See was only aware of rumors, which were not enough to justify disciplinary measures against McCarrick. I affirm to the contrary that the Holy See was aware of a variety of concrete facts, and is in possession of documentary proof, and that the responsible persons nevertheless chose not to intervene or were prevented from doing so. Compensation by the Archdiocese of Newark and the Diocese of Metuchen to the victims of McCarrick's sexual abuse, the letters of Fr. Ramsey, of the Nuncios Montalvo in 2000 and Sambi in 2006, of Dr. Sipe in 2008, my two notes to the superiors of the Secretariat of State who described in detail the concrete allegations against McCarrick. Are all these just rumors? They are official correspondence, not gossip from the sacristy. The crimes reported were very serious, including those of attempting to give sacramental absolution to accomplices in perverse acts, with subsequent sacrilegious celebration of Mass. These documents specify the identity of the perpetrators and their protectors, and the chronological sequence of the facts. They are kept in the appropriate archives. No extraordinary investigation is needed to recover them. In the public remonstrances directed at me I have noted two omissions, two dramatic